Hello, everyone. Grab a quick cup of chai, pull up a chair, and just make yourself at home. Today, we're doing a deep dive, an explanator really, into one of the most famously misunderstood ingredients probably sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now. We're going to look at the actual science, clear up a whole lot of confusion, and give you the real facts so you can cook safely and deliciously for your family.
So let's get right to it. Is Ajinomoto, or MSG, actually the villain we've all been led to believe it is? I mean, we've all heard the warnings, right? Those whispers about the dreaded Chinese restaurant syndrome and being told to avoid it at absolutely all costs. It's kind of the elephant in the room anytime we grab fast food or a restaurant takeout. But today, we are going to push past the rumors and see what the clinical science actually has to say about it.
To really get this, we first need to understand what MSG actually is. It stands for Monosodium Glutamate. Now, I know that sounds super scientific, but honestly, it's just the sodium salt of glutamic acid, which is a completely natural amino acid. While regular salt gives us, a salty taste, MSG brings something totally different to the table. It brings umami. That's a Japanese word that basically translates to a pleasant, savory taste. It's that incredibly rich, mouth-watering flavor that literally tells your brain, hey, this food is packed with protein.
And the origin of this stuff? Completely natural. It wasn't cooked up in some modern chemical lab. No way. Back in 1908, a Japanese professor named Kikanai Ikeda just really wanted to know why his wife's soup broth tasted so incredibly good. So he investigated, and he actually extracted the very first MSG from a natural seaweed called kombu. So yeah, this is a completely natural discovery that is well over a century old.
Okay, so how does a seaweed discovery turn into that white powder we buy today? A lot of folks think Ajinomoto is heavily synthetic, but actually, it's a fermentation product. It starts with a simple carbohydrate, like sugarcane or tapioca. Then they add microbes to ferment it, and guys, this is the exact same natural process we use at home to make dahi or vinegar. The microbes eat the sugar, they create glutamic acid, and then just a little bit of sodium is added to neutralize it before it gets dried into those familiar white crystals.
Which brings us to a huge question. Where did all the fear come from? Well, back in the 1960s, a single letter to a medical journal claimed MSG caused headaches and numbness, and that single letter sparked decades of fear known as Chinese restaurant syndrome. But the clinical truth? It's a whole different story. Double-blind, placebo-controlled studies, which, by the way, are the absolute gold standard in science, have completely failed to consistently link MSG to these symptoms in the general public. Now, sure, a tiny percentage of people might be sensitive if they eat a massive dose, like 3 grams on a totally empty stomach. But clinical science confirms there is absolutely no such thing as a true MSG allergy.
Then there's another pretty scary myth out there called excitotoxicity. This idea that MSG reaches your brain and overexcites your brain cells. You can totally breathe a sigh of relief on this one. Science proves that dietary glutamate simply cannot cross the blood-brain barrier in healthy adults. It just doesn't reach your brain in significant amounts, and it certainly doesn't cause damage there. It digests exactly like the normal amino acids found in your everyday food. And honestly, understanding how it digests brings us to a massive, and I mean really surprising health benefit. Let's look at the numbers. Regular table salt is about 40% sodium. MSG, on the other hand, it's only about 12% sodium. Think about that for a second. This means if you use a blend of MSG and regular salt in your cooking, you can actually reduce the total sodium in your family's meals by up to 30%. And the best part? You do all that without losing even an ounce of that delicious flavor.
But hey, don't just take my word for it. Let's look at what the top global health authorities are saying. The US FDA classifies it as generally recognized as safe. The European Food Safety Authority also marks it as safe, suggesting a daily limit of 30 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, which is, frankly, way more than you would ever physically eat in a single meal. And the World Health Organization, they state it's safe enough that no strict daily numerical limit is even necessary for general health. They literally all agree it's safe for the general population.
Now here is a really fun surprise for your daily cooking. You might think you're avoiding MSG by just not buying the crystals, but guess what? It is already hiding right in your kitchen, completely naturally. Everyday Indian staples, things like ripe tomatoes, green peas or mutter, mushrooms, walnuts, they are all absolutely packed with naturally occurring MSG. That is exactly why a slow-cooked tomato gravy tastes so wonderfully rich and savory. You have literally been eating and loving natural MSG your entire life.
So, if it's natural and it's safe, why do so many people say they just can't stop eating it? Let's tackle that big question. Is it actually addictive? Well, the myth says yes, but the science says no. It is not chemically addictive like nicotine. There is a real risk, though, but it's a behavioral one. Because MSG triggers those protein reward centers in our brains we talked about earlier, it just makes food taste incredible. The danger isn't the MSG itself. The danger is that it makes highly processed junk food, like your family's favorite chips or those instant noodles, taste so incredibly good that we just end up overeating them.
Now, while it is totally safe for the general public, I do want to share a really important caring tip for the young families out there. Pediatricians suggest avoiding adding MSG to the diets of infants. Babies have blood-brain barriers that are still actively developing, so we need to be careful. Plus, let's be honest, when they are that young, it's just much better to help them get used to the simple, natural flavors of whole foods anyway. If you're someone who checks labels to manage exactly what your family is eating, here's a really smart shopping tip for you. Sometimes food manufacturers don't actually use the letters MSG on the back of packets like Maggi or soups or chips. Instead, you'll see these functional synonyms. If you ever spot hydrolyzed vegetable protein, yeast extract, or autolyzed yeast, just know those are essentially providing the exact same free glutamates as MSG.
And speaking of labels, right here in India, the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, the FSSAI, has some strict rules to protect us. If a brand uses ingredients that naturally contain glutamates, like that yeast extract we literally just mentioned, the FSSAI strictly prohibits them from slapping a no added MSG claim on the front of the packet. This regulation is just fantastic because it completely stops everyday consumers from being misled by clever marketing tricks.
But hey, what if you want that amazing, deep umami flavor for your family meals, but you'd really just rather not use the concentrated Ajinomoto crystals? No problem at all. You have plenty of natural, everyday alternatives right in your pantry. You can use a naturally fermented soy sauce, add a quick splash of fish sauce, or honestly, my absolute personal favorite, slowly cooking and caramelizing onions. Caramelizing releases all their natural sweetness and that deep savoriness, giving your curries and gravies a spectacular flavor boost, totally naturally.
So the science is crystal clear. MSG is a safe, natural origin tool for incredible flavor, and it might even actually help you cut down on your family's sodium intake. It is definitely not the kitchen villain it was made out to be all these years. So the only real question left is, armed with this awesome new knowledge, what delicious meal are you going to cook next? To dive even deeper into the science and read the full breakdown, you'll find the full article and much more on dailyfoodserve.com. Thank you so much for learning with me in this explainer today, and happy cooking.